I think that a very important aspect of all this is the enormous changes in society in my lifetime. When I look right back to my earlier years, I am very conscious that there was a sense of belonging, and my earliest experience of this was in the Second World War, when we all pulled together and faced issues that were of enormous importance. And I can remember too the solidarity and sense of community with among ordinary working people, the terrace housing, and where people clubbed together to support one another. And I think there was also a lot of forms of employment which involved a lot of solidarity, particularly, of course, shipbuilding and also mining. And one of the very important artists in the Northeast was Norman Cornish, who recalled forever the life of the mining communities in Spennymoor and around there. And it seems to me in that whole period there was a strong sense of values within a family, values within a community, even within a nation. And I feel that one of the important signs of that was the determination at the end of the Second War to make sure that we didn't go back to the horrors of the 1930s and mass unemployment. And that's why we got the Labour government, which to my mind has always been the best government I've ever lived through. It was an enormous challenge, but they pulled off so much in those brief 6 years. And that was largely continued by people who nowadays would be called the Wets in the Conservative Party, but particularly I think of Macmillan and his reluctance to sell the family silver. I think in the time since then, what we've seen is the reassertion of a life of competition, individualism, and the demise largely of any sense of belonging. And I think with it has gone any sort of sense of the entitlement of everyone to recognition simply for the dignity which they actually have. To my mind, particularly in the last 40, 50 years, we've just seen the demise of a lot of values, particularly a sense of our common life, and the importance of each and every individual within it. So I'm thinking particularly of the way in which there's been a considerable divisiveness, which of course competition tends to emphasize, the distinction particularly between skivers and strivers, where people tend to assume they are the strivers, but the people, for instance, in the Northeast are rather thought of as being the skivers. And this is actually, in my mind, almost upside down to the truth of the matter, because it's largely the richer people who are on the make and the poorer people who are suffering. And my mind continually goes back 2,500 years to the remark of the Greek historian Thucydides, that the powerful do what they can, but the poorer suffer what they must. So my feeling is that there are all kinds of barriers now to the recognition of values, and particularly the sense of solidarity. And that is out objectively there, built into the structures and the mindset of modernity. But that, of course, is then internalized by people in the Northeast particularly, and wherever there are large numbers of poorer people. They themselves feel that they have to battle on their own, and that somehow that is a necessity of life. It can't be changed. And this leads in itself to a sense of isolation and considerable depression. But that's very general, but I think that background is of enormous importance, and its impact on individuals in a particular context is often minimised.